I didn't even have to go look at it. I put in an offer for it because I
Wow.
knew it was so significantly underpriced to that area of the market that there's very few things that could have been wrong with it that made that deal
Wow.
not work out. So really, you have to buy right. And what you want to look at when you're looking at a BRRRR deal is you want to look at buying the property and all of your rehab costs being about 70 to 75% of what they call the ARV or the market value.
This is Better Wealth with Caleb Williams. All right, we're going to be talking about the BRRRR method, and this is something that a lot of people are talking about, and it's brilliant. And I think if you are into real estate, you have to at least understand the philosophy here and the framework, because at the end of the day, you can almost make any deal better by understanding how the BRRRR method works. So how's that for an intro, man?
Yeah, that's pretty good. And big expectations to live up to. So the BRRRR method is buy, rehab, rent, and refinance. And it's nothing new. It's not a new strategy. I mean, in the commercial space, they've been doing this for years in office space and multifamily and things like that. But it's recently trickled down to the single family space. And we were talking offline. My best deal is a BRRRR deal. So just to give everybody some context, I bought a property for $80,000 using hard money that I then paid that lender back 90,000. So now we're at 90,000. I then put $20,000 into the deal. So now I'm at $110,000. I did the rehab, put a tenant in there, then went to the bank and refinanced out $115,000. So they gave me $5,000 back. I paid off the private money lender and things like that. And it cash flows $450 a month. So let me do the quick math on that. You gave me $5,000 and you're paying me $400 a month to own this property. That is an infinite return. It's a beautiful strategy when executed correctly.
Where do I sign up, man? Like that's incredible. So you buy, you fix up the property because you're essentially buying a property that you got for 80,000, and the bank, what was the valuation that the bank had?
I think it was 160.
Okay. So you bought it for 80, you put 20 in, but you put that $20,000 into things that increase the house value. You went back to the bank, refinanced it. They're saying the house is worth 160, so they're going to give you 115. You pay off your hard money lender. They made money, but you had more money than what you put in, and now you have an asset that's cash flowing.
Yep, and appreciating. So you can see, hopefully, the benefits here is that you can basically juice your returns by rehabbing the property. And most importantly, Caleb and I talk a lot about this, is cycling your money.
Yeah.
And always moving your money. So basically, I put $100,000 into that property, essentially 110, then pulled it out and put it into another asset. So now I have that same $110,000 working in two different spots. It's a beautiful strategy when it works.
So let's talk about the cons, and really let's walk through the 4 areas where the cons could happen. You could buy a property that was overpriced, so you could buy it wrong. The rehab could be a disaster. So you could, if you don't know what you're doing, you could get taken advantage of, or you might open up something and be like, oh, this is going to cost a lot more. The refinance might not go as planned, and then the rent. So obviously it's not like this is not like a dummy proof make your money. You can, obviously there's 4 points of where it could get more negative. But what would you say? Would you add any other cons to this? And those cons can be advantages. I just want to be very frank. It comes down to the investor versus the investment. You might not be the right person to be able to evaluate the deal.
Yeah, the first one that you mentioned, real estate is all about buying correctly.
Yeah.
Buying right. And I remember this property specific, and this isn't the only BRRRR I've done, but this is by far one of the best deals I've ever done. I remember I was sitting in traffic on my phone, and this property came across for $80,000, and I didn't even have to go look at it. I put in an offer for it because I knew it was so significantly underpriced to that area of the market that there's very few things that could have been wrong with it that made that deal not work out. So really you have to buy right. And what you want to look at when you're looking at a BRRRR deal is you want to look at buying the property and all of your rehab costs being about 70 to 75% of what they call the ARV, or the market value, essentially. So A, you're right, you have to buy right. B, you have to make sure you estimate right too. So to your point, I've done a BRRRR before too, where I ripped up the floors and saw that there was a lot more issues going on underneath there than I had originally expected. And fortunately, that was only a couple $1,000s. But if you're really dependent on that couple $1,000s to make the deal, then that could have been a problem. And then the third, really the big one, I think, is refinancing. So you have to make sure that you get your estimate on what you think that property will be worth once you're done, so that you can refi it effectively. And also a part of the refi is you get to a certain point where banks don't like to lend you money because you have too much debt and things like that. So if you don't have a good banking relationship set up, and this is your first deal and you're trying to do that, then they might be a little bit queasy. If you have great banking relationships, then this should be easy to be done on a credit line and things like that. So really making sure you buy right, and we want to aim for, after our rehab and after the purchase price, that being around 70 to 75%. You have to make sure that you're pretty good at estimating what needs to be done and how much that's going to cost. And then ultimately go ahead and line up your lender before you buy, so that you're all on the same page on being able to pull your money out.
For the type of person that should lean into this, pretty much anybody that has money that wants to buy real estate, it's a way to, I like the word that you said, juice your returns. I love that, because it's the idea of like taking all the factors and maximizing it. Is there anything else that you think wasn't said that should be said?
Yeah, I got into BRRRRing properties after my first one. So my first one, I bought a brand new build. It was basically turnkey, did nothing needed to it. And then I saw the power of BRRRR, so I just immediately jumped into the wholesaling of properties. You do have to build a relationship to get on wholesalers list and get deal flow coming to you, and recognize what a good deal looks like. And then secondarily, you also have to manage the contracting team as well, or hire out a project manager that can do that. So it is a little bit more hands-on than your typical passive investing. I would say it's a lot less hands-off on than your wholesalers. And so if you think about it, like normally people start with wholesaling properties, then they start by flipping homes to keep the cash going. And then once they can buy properties, they then turn those into BRRRRs, pull their money out, keep them as assets. So it's kind of in between the passive, I just want to be capital, and wholesaling, and I'm doing it from the beginning.
It all comes down to buying right, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. So Matt, thank you so much. This is definitely a strategy that you should understand, be able to juice your returns. Make sure to share this video or this podcast with someone that's looking into real estate. And we're in a series right now on my channel and podcast on all about real estate, and helping people understand that not all assets are created equal. Not all real estate is good or bad. It very much comes down to where you are, and getting the results and outcomes that you want, and finding those assets that help you best accomplish that. Thank you so much for listening to the BetterWealth podcast. It would mean the world to me if you could hit subscribe, leave a review, and share this with the people that you know and love.